Hello and welcome to the show. I'm sitting here with a new friend, Jeff
Sure.
Delgado, an amazing individual. As you get to learn more about Jeff, you're going to be pleasantly impressed, as I am. Jeff, we're going to be talking about your bio and, what it is that kind of makes you tick. And you're an entrepreneur, you're successful, you really influence a lot of people's lives, but something had to influence you to become who you are today. So I'd kind of like to find out a little bit about you in just a few brief moments, if that's okay.
Sure. I grew up in a environment that I wouldn't see very favorable for most people. I have a background where I went to a high school that two of my best friends were shot there. Cousins were put in situations where they were shot at with gang violence. I lost a lot of people through adversity like that. Drugs was really a lot around me at that time. And so a lot of my life in terms of going forward was to try to beat the odds of not trying to be average. I think if I would have stayed on course where I was, I'd either be in jail or I'd be dead by now.
Wow.
So I had to get involved in something that was more positive, and I got approached by someone to tell me to read a book. I read a first book. It was Think and Grow Rich.
At what age were you?
I was about 18 years old.
So it wasn't until 18 that somebody actually came into your life and influenced you to go down a different path?
Yeah, they gave me a book. It was actually an Amway distributor, and he gave me a book to read, Think and Grow Rich. And then I was introduced to Tony Robbins in a video. It was like a little tape my older brother owned, but he never opened. And so he moved out of our house, and he left this whole set. It was like a 30 days to personal power. And I watched it. Changed my life, changed my entire direction from where I was. 19 years old, my entire life changed within 5 years.
So when you started listening to these tapes, you started listening to it, something attracted you? Did you like what you heard? It made you feel good? What happened? I mean, something transpired.
Well, first it made me realize that my past had nothing to do with where I was going. And I used to dwell my past on, because of all the negative stuff I've been through and the type of people I was around, that my future was over. I was brought up in an old mentality that if you didn't have certain things, then you're going to be in trouble in your life. And I believed that until I heard that whole tape program by Robbins. And I started realizing, well, I could be who I want to be now and start from today and turn my life around. And from there, I started reading every day. I started reading like maybe a book a week. I started reading all the time to a point where I became fanatical with this personal development thing. And I got involved in a few businesses that I started doing well in, and all of a sudden I started finding what my gifts were.
So do you think that you were doing well in the businesses because you had a different level of expectation about yourself and, and your results?
Absolutely. I believe that because of the new direction of thinking, and I guess it falls into play of what you're looking for, is the thinking of where my mind was negative all the time. Finally, I was able to think, hey, I could win. I didn't look at it where I'm going to lose. I could win. I could be the best at it. That means whatever I got involved in, I could be the best. And it was really just a tweak in the way I was thinking. If I would have kept on thinking my old way, I would have just gave up. And I think it was because of the influence of who I started hanging around with. I started hanging around people who were a lot more successful than me in terms of financial terms. And I started hanging around guys who I wanted to be like. I started being around mentors, and it changed me. And
when you started hanging around these folks, I mean, what was it because you felt it felt right, or you wanted to become like them? I mean, kind of elaborate just a little bit on that.
Well, I needed to realize that there was something wrong with me. And if I didn't accept that I needed to change, I would have never changed. So I looked into individuals' qualities that I felt where I wanted to be. And some of them I didn't know what qualities to look for. So I had to follow a lot of people. One is I looked at people that were influential, and I'd say, I want to be like him. I see a guy who had a great family, and I go, I want to be like that one day. I see a guy who's great with his kids, and I wanted to be like that. So it wasn't just one person. It just started finding the best in people and trying to take that into myself, incorporate it into my own life. It was kind of a coaching.
I want to ask you another question. Now, obviously, you have your old friends.
Yes.
And then you have your new friends. What did you do with the relationships with your old friends that were part of the old environment?
Well, first, I look at it where all my friends, whether it was old and past, I'm good friends with pretty much everybody still. But I took everybody's gift, as everybody has something to offer, as a gift for me. Like a friend of mine who I used to hang around with back in high school, we may not connect in business, but we connect in other ways, maybe in football or maybe in sports or something else, basketball. I just started finding where we connected. And then on friends that I wanted to be like, or I wanted to get into an improvement in my life, I would hang around different people with different influence.
One of the things that I was taught early on, it talks about you have your negative and positive influences in your life, and to take the negatives and separate yourself from those negative influences so that you can actually surround yourself with more positive input, because we are a product of the things that we see and believe, right? What would you contribute probably the reason you believe the way you believe and you have been successful, what would you contribute that to? Is there any one thing or one process?
Well, I believe that, first of all, the whole thing you said, negative and positive, I believe that you have to be the positive force in a negative environment. I don't believe that you should run, my opinion is that I don't run from a negative environment because I want to be the light in the environment. I want to change it. I think that the only way to have change is to be part of the change. Positive is positive, but negative need positive. Right. And if I'm around only positive, then I'm not making any change. I want to be around the ones that need the help the most. And that's why I think that my gift is that, if there is a gift, is wanting to be around everyone. Because I think that if you're around even, say, the worst situation, a guy in prison or a guy on drugs, you'll learn a lot from that, and you could be the light for this guy to change. So I love being around both.
Right on. Well, thanks for being a part of this.
Oh, no problem.